Okie dokie, it's finally time to run our code, our JavaScript code that is, from a separate file that we can save and revisit. Typing our code in the console is great for, one-off things. We're just quickly testing what is 1 plus 3. Great, we don't need to make a file and save a script and execute that script in the browser. Let's just do it in the console. But if we want to write more than one line at a time, technically you can do multiple lines if you hit Shift-Enter. You can type multiple lines there. But still, the point remains that as soon as I do hit enter or I close this window and come back or my computer dies, I thought the charger was plugged in and it wasn't. Happens to me all the time. My code is gone, right? This is not permanent in any way. And most websites, most applications are going to consist of hundreds, if not thousands of lines of JavaScript. So this is really not where we want to write real code. It's a great place to test things out. It's a great place to debug your code to figure out what's going wrong, but it's not a real editor. That's why we have VS Code. So to run a JavaScript file, what we have to do is make a JavaScript file. So we can start there. I'm in a new folder here. I'm calling it running JS script. And the only requirement here is that our file ends in .js. So why don't we go with script.js or app? I like app.js, but whatever works. Notice VS Code gives me the little JavaScript logo, the icon. Yours might look different. So in here, we can put some code like, 1 plus 3, but remember, this is not going to show up anywhere unless I print it out. So we'll do a console.log, as we just learned. Hello from our first file, our first JS file. Okay? Now I'm going to save this file. Now in my index.html, I need to connect this script with the HTML file. So I can't just open this in the browser, unfortunately. To connect it, what I need to do is use a script element. So in HTML, we have a script element. It does kind of what I've already said. So the script element accepts an attribute called source, src, just like we have on an image. And this source needs to be the path to a script. So app.js, just like that. Okay, and then I can open this in the browser. So I'm just going to give this a new title, first JS script. I'll open this in the browser like we've opened everything else. I can put an H1 or something in here if I want, but we're not going to be working with the HTML. We're simply using this HTML document as like a vessel to carry our script. It's just a conduit so that we can actually run our script, but our script won't be interacting with the elements, not yet at least. So I've got my H1, first script. Now I'm going to open this up. Here it is in all its glory, a beautiful web page. And I'm going to open the console. And there we go. So it's up to you how you want to manage this, if you want this to be collapsed as a drawer in the actual browser web page. But since we're not interacting with this content, I usually just pop it out like we've been doing. This is now where we'll go to see the result of our code running. So I just want to emphasize this one more time if I wasn't clear enough. Doing something like 1 plus 3, that is going to run, but we won't see any output. I'm refreshing the page here, which is what we need to do anytime I change my file. Just like an HTML or CSS file, if I change this, I need to save and then rerun it in the browser or just refresh. So I don't see that, even though it actually did execute. It's just not there. Now, what I could do is make a variable, let total equal 1 plus 3, and then refresh over here. I still don't see it, but I do have access to those variables I've declared over in my script, assuming that the page is open. So it's not like every browser window ever will have access to total. It's just in this file that I've made right now. So I can put multiple console.logs in here, of course. Console.log, hello from a file. Console.log, goodbye. Refresh. And now we get both of them. The other thing I want to make clear up front, you'll learn, or we hopefully will learn together as we progress through JavaScript, that this is actually not the ideal placement. It's not the ideal place to put a JavaScript script in our document. Usually, we put these down at the very end of our body. Now, it's not going to make a single, I was going to say a wink of difference. I don't know if that's a real expression. An iota of difference. It's not going to matter right now. Because the reason we do this has to do with when we're writing JavaScript that interacts with HTML elements. Like if I wanted to have a button in here and I could click it and it would run some JavaScript code, I want those elements to be loaded. I want them to be acknowledged by the browser before my script. But right now we're not doing it, so it really won't matter, or doesn't matter right now. But it's a good habit to get into. You can add your scripts at the bottom of the body. Not outside it, but at the end of the body. And I think that's pretty much it. So make a file with .js as the extension, put your code in there. We'll be doing this all the time. Connect it to your HTML document with script, the script element with a source attribute. Make sure that path is correct. File name matches. If you have something like JS/ if it's in a folder. And then open that file in your browser. I have it open right here. And then open up the DevTools, and our console will print out, it will show us whatever we've printed out from our JavaScript file. Okay, so that's the recipe to follow.